We'll call this meeting of the Silver City Town Council to order. Please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If I could ask Councilor Bettison to read our mission statement.
Thank you, Mayor. Silver City is the hub of an inclusive community settled within a small town that, through guided growth, honors and preserves its historical, cultural, and natural heritage while facilitating jobs, health, and educational resources such that the residents and visitors may enjoy and protect the recreational opportunities of the area and high quality of life.
Thank you. There's no public input. We'll move right on to council comments. Councilor Morones, would you like to start?
No comment, sir.
Thank you. Councilor Ray?
And no comment, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Cook?
No comment, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Bettison?
No comment.
Thank you. I'm not going to run a good thing. Next item is changes to the agenda.
None.
Hearing none, the agenda's okay, and we'll move to approval of minutes of the regular meeting September 11th, 2012, as were amended and presented to you today.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of September 11th, 2012, as presented and as amended and presented to us today.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second, no discussion, to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Town Council September 11th, 2012. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is under reports, and we're going to start with the May 2012 Adaptation Conference and Beyond, presented by the Silver City Adaptation Conference team.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, town manager, we are here to follow up a visit we had with you in March when we presented a climate change adaptation addendum for your review at that point in time to add to the climate action plan. Part of that adaptation addendum was to create basically an adaptation plan as part of a sustainability planning effort for the town, and to attend the University of Arizona's second international conference on climate change adaptation. Next slide, please. And next slide. This is the team that we took, and I'll kind of anticipate the next slide. Anticipating the planning effort we were going to have for the town, as we no longer were going to be working full-time on federal grants for energy efficiency and renewable energy, but we're moving into broader tasks for the town. I particularly wanted to take a team in force for a conference educational experience to kind of broaden the dialogue within the town. I was fortunate enough to get student discount rates at half price for the conference for 12 of us that are listed there. The mayor attended with us. We had good representation and good expertise, and I think it was a really good experience. We also kind of continued our partnership with Santa Fe by inviting and getting the interest of two Sustainable Santa Fe commissioners to attend with us. And that was a useful thing to do. Next slide, please. This is our team, and there are various faces that you might recognize, including Sissy's, Sheriff Tuck, who decided to stop by with us on his way out to see Wired Earp, and the lady in the middle in the black dress is Diana Liverman, who is a visiting professor for the University of Cambridge, and she's been in the country several years, and she's the co-director of the University of Arizona's Institute for the Environment, and she was instrumental in getting us the student discounts. But again, we had good representation, including Emma Bailiff from the university, following up Dr. Shepard's desire, as you know, to establish a new Center for the Environment at the university. We were the largest contingent, and actually acknowledged as such, to our pleasant surprise, by Professor Liverman. One may ask, why would we be the largest contingent? Well, I think there are two reasons there. One is, I think, the marketing effort for the conference wasn't in full form, because there's great interest by members of agencies and communities across the country if you spend the time on the internet and with associates. So there was only 250, roughly, U.S. participants out of 750. The others were international. And it was an opportunity for us to meet a broad spectrum of scientists and academicians. But again, we wanted to come out in force in anticipation of our future efforts for the town. Next slide, please. I'll address just the first two highlights here, and then I'm going to turn it over to, and forgive me, Linda Thompson, the facilitator of the Climate Committee, is with me as a sissy with her 5 hats, and she'll speak from a number of those tonight. One of the things that became obvious from a number of different speakers at the conference was that things are happening weather and climate-wise faster than is being predicted. And they went out of their way to stress that, in fact, most scientists are conservative because they follow the evidence that they have on hand, including their models, which are incomplete and filled with assumptions that maybe by consensus are agreed to, but are not whole, and so don't fully predict what is in fact unfolding faster in reality. And there have been a number of studies in terms of both drought and heat, sea level rise, storms, extreme weather, etc., that have pretty much supported this. Speaking of the drought, it was kind of a really impactful experience to be at the conference while the Whitewater Baldy was burning. That was used also as an example by a major plenary speaker on extreme weather, and this is Dr. Jonathan Overpeck, who is Diana Liverman's co-chair or co-director of the Institute of the Environment at University of Arizona, and that's Dr. Overpeck. And he used the example of the then burning Whitewater Baldy and the size of it as an example of the extended drought that the Southwest is in, noting that we've been in that drought for 12 years, but that his personal concern professionally is an extended mega drought for the area. In particular, unlike the paleoclimatic record, where there are multiple examples of extended droughts, this one potentially could be a hot extended drought, and therefore of more concern. And so that was a takeaway from me, being there with the fire burning at the time, and this respected senior scientist expressing his concern for where drought might be going in the Southwest. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Linda Thompson. We'll certainly ask if you have any questions or comments at the end of our talk, which should limit to another 10 or 15 minutes. And Linda will talk about the Western Adaptation Alliance.
One of the things that really struck me at this conference was getting to know and in becoming aware of an organization called the Western Adaptation Alliance. They have member communities in Flagstaff, Tucson, Aspen, Boulder County, Denver, Fort Collins, Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Park City. They have followed a similar set of progressive steps that our own Silver City Climate Committee has followed, so we're kind of maybe one step behind them, but doing the same things in our community that they are doing in theirs. Their goal is to allow communities with common threats to learn from each other and build a capacity to adapt within a larger community setting. And the good news for us is that the Western Adaptation Alliance is working to acquire funding to be able to meet more regularly and also to grow outside of the core cities and invite more cities to join them, especially from New Mexico. So we may, later on this year, hopefully, have an opportunity to work with them a little more closely. The representation in Tucson, in 2011, the city developed an impact and vulnerability assessment along with the Western Adaptation Alliance, and later this year, they plan to release an adaptation plan. In Salt Lake City, this year, the city prepared an operations risk assessment, and the mayor has declared that by the end of the year, the city will have a climate adaptation plan in place. And in Flagstaff, which is a special note to us because they have a similar community that's an urban wildlife interface, they established a formal commitment to climate action in 2006, which was quite some time ago, actually. They initiated climate adaptation efforts a little earlier than Tucson did in 2009. And in 2011 and 12, the city conducted a vulnerability and risk assessment of city operations. And this May, it released the City of Flagstaff Resiliency and Preparedness Study. And the study estimates the degree of risk and the potential impacts of climate change on 115 areas of city operations. In addition, it offers policy recommendations for reducing risk and increasing resilience within city operations. Can we have the next slide, please, Terry? These are the 7 policies that came out of their vulnerability study. And I'm not going to read them all to you, but you will see the word resiliency often there, and it refers to the ability to positively respond or adapt to coping with change or stressful situations. So that's what they want to do, and what we want to try to do here in Silver City is to increase our resiliency once we've determined what our vulnerabilities are. Extreme weather events and changing scenario for our region is in the offing, and we need to be prepared for the things that are coming our way. Additional education within city operations and additional communication within city operations is something that we need to strive for. We need to effectively use municipal resources to respond to the identified risks and vulnerabilities. So we are hoping that we can conduct our own Town of Silver City vulnerability and preparedness study. It is our next logical step in responding to our changing future here in Silver.
Thank you, Linda. And now Sissy will talk with us about this area's vulnerabilities and risks. Sissy.
Many of you may not know, but I actually got my bachelor's in urban planning, so I really enjoyed this conference a lot. We went to different workshops, and the ones that I went to were really talking about what sort of planning and programming and implementation can take place as we start seeing a change in our climate. And right now, we're already seeing increasing drought and heat. We've seen a lot of that this year right here in our area. Fire, of course, we've got what are being called mega fires, and there's several still burning around the country. Not only is that a risk to lives and property, but also the ecosystem and tourism. And I want to talk a little bit about tourism right now. There were several workshops that were talking about communities that used to have rainforests or used to have other types of ecosystems that were bringing tourists to those areas. And now they're trying to see, what do they adapt? How do they change to try to continue to have an economy around tourism? And we're seeing that right now with the aftermath of the fires. We're still getting phone calls down at the visitor center asking how smoky it is. We're months past the fire. And of course, in the Silver City Sun News this week, there was an article on Glenwood and the impact that has had to that area. So this is something that, from a tourism standpoint, we need to look at. In another way, it actually helped us, because as it was getting hotter and hotter down on the desert, we're seeing people that are looking for cooler retreats. We anticipate really some of the computer simulations that were done, and these were international people, as Nick mentioned, but they would go and adapt their presentation to the Tucson area. They said, I figured I might as well just bring it right back to where we're at and talk about what's going on. And when you look at an increase of 3 degrees, it got to where the entire Phoenix area was a deep red, which means it's almost inhabitable, and it's coming over to Tucson. And so we're probably, over the course of the next few 20, 25 years, going to be seeing people trying to migrate up to an area such as ours where it's cooler. So that can work to our benefit, but again, from a planning and programming standpoint, we want to be ready for that. Heat also has a risk when we're talking about the electrical grid. We saw a lot of brownouts and blackouts this year. As it gets hotter, those systems are going to tend to not only get maxed out, but also fail. So we need to be careful about the loss of key services there. Food is another component. Prices will be higher. The access, thank goodness, we're starting to really build a good local sustainable food system here, and we are seeing that growing. But this is part of what, when we look at a full systems approach to our community for the future, we need to be looking at food. And dust and wind is another area that was discussed quite a bit, not only because of the pulmonary risk to young and elderly, but areas like Australia, where the winds are starting to get so extreme along the coastlines that they're starting to create new building codes so that they're using structures for higher wind capacity. And part of the question came back in regulation, is that something that people should actually be supporting as far as lawmakers, is actually starting to increase the requirements in the code? And it came back yes, because when an insurance company needs to go in and make repairs, it's costing them more to repair what hasn't been built right than if it was designed and built for higher wind loads. So that's something we're probably going to need to be looking at. Takeaways from the conference is that really, if we work on a city level, that tends to be your community level, the most effective way to go. Even some of these areas, they were taking it right back to starting to look at what can neighborhoods do. Something that would tie back to that would be where we're looking at water catchment and trying to reduce flooding and things of that nature. Of course, I just mentioned earlier about the hot drought and the impact to the Southwest. We have ways that we can alleviate some of our vulnerability, and a lot of that's going to be to really analyze what are our risks and what can we do to be proactive. And so that's part of why I'm here tonight, is to support the town moving forward with that sort of study and seeing what we can do. Public health is a key approach. Health and safety of the general public. We need to be looking at the impact of heat. We need to be looking at what happens as far as disease when we start having these extreme conditions. And also thinking, as I mentioned, instead of disaster and post-disaster, what can we do to anticipate through our planning to offset those sorts of impacts? And just like with the solar parking structure and a lot of the sustainability things that we're doing right now, we're attracting people that want to move to this community because of the foresight of our council, our mayor, our city. And so this is yet another step we can take to move along those lines and to mitigate the problems ahead of time. And lastly, the cooperative partnerships. We've got a lot of local stakeholders. We've got the Forest Service, we've got the university, we've got the town. And in one of the meetings that we had with Alex, I had to just pull a quote together, and I just want to go ahead and use that tonight. And that is that Silver City was built to last, and I hope that we'll continue to plan so that we can last. Thank you.
Thank you, Sissy. Next slide, please. So just to wrap this up, and without going down each of the points, we are going to embark on adaptation and sustainability planning almost immediately. I will create a task force in the month of October, and we will engage a 9-month process of planning, and then probably come back with some recommendations, probably a resolution of roughly similar scope to the one that was in your package and that Linda talked to from Flagstaff. And as part of that, we had an opportunity, actually, Linda and I met this afternoon with Dr. Shepard on November 26th, the Monday after Thanksgiving. Dr. David Orr from Oberlin College will be here. Dr. Orr is a nationally recognized author and activist isn't the right word, but he is leveraging $125 million of projects in the town of Oberlin, a similar town of size to us, the same juxtaposition of university to the downtown. And he will come and talk to the community about how to establish a sustainable community. And given his work in Oberlin and what he's been able to accomplish there with new buildings to green standards, solar, business and public partnerships, arts and architecture, that'll be a major opportunity for us. And so we will be working with him to get the word out on that opportunity. And we will be arranging part of that afternoon and the one day he's going to be with us to have him speak with our sustainability task force. Let's go into the last page. I wanted to kind of close the thread here that I've talked with Peter Russell about. Peter, as you may know, for the town, is going to be leading an update to the town's comprehensive plan. That'll be done kind of in 2 phases. The first one will be done in a reasonably time-efficient way so that we can get a new date on the comp plan and have it be of sufficient update so that it can then be properly attached for grant applications. Peter will take a much broader and more comprehensive effort into what he refers to as a new vision comprehensive plan that would be focused in the general 2030 timeframe and would use the sustainability plan that we're preparing over the next year in concert with other recent planning as kind of the basis of input for the new plan. So we're excited to be working in that kind of joint time frame, and the pieces seem to fit together fairly well. So at this point, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and we'll take any questions or comments that you might like to offer.
Any questions, comments? Looks like you were pretty thorough there. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Next will be staff reports. Mr. Brown?
I don't have any. Since we couldn't remember what I was supposed to tell you.
I still can't remember. I'll wait till it's real inappropriate, and I'll remember. So the next item on the agenda will be approval, disapproval. Well, that's interesting. Approval, disapproval of water and wastewater service agreement between the town of Silver City and Tyrone Property Owners Association.
Mayor and Council,
We have to vote twice.
vote twice.
This is insane.
All right, well, Mayor and Council, the staff has been under negotiations with the Tyrone Property Association for approximately a year now. I don't know if all of you know that for approximately the last 7 years, the town of Silver City has been actually doing the meter reading for Tyrone, and which we receive an administration fee for doing that, as well as the billing for their water. Since that time, the association has gone out to find funding to develop a transmission line for their waste. Rather than, they want to get away from their lagoons that they currently use. They want to develop a transmission line from the Tyrone town site to actually where the new jail was built, and then from there it will gravity flow into our wastewater treatment plant, where we will process the waste. It's approximately 5%, would be a 5% increase in the total amount of waste that we process currently. The way that the project will work is Tyrone is completely responsible for the development, maintenance, payment, everything of the transmission line. The only part that we would be responsible for at any point would be for any repairs that might need to take place between the jail and the wastewater treatment plant, which is a brand new transmission line, and it's all gravity flowed, so there's no boosters or anything like that that need to be taken into consideration. So that's the only portion of our collection system that Tyrone would be using, would be between the jail and the wastewater treatment plant. Other than that, their waste would be processed through our normal process. We have they have to comply with all of our discharge requirements that we are required as a town to comply with through the Environment Department, the EPA, and all the others. So basically, this contract would allow us to continue to do their meter reading. We do not do any maintenance on their water system. They do all the maintenance on their water system. And we would just add the wastewater fee that we currently pay, that we currently collect. We would collect it from the Tyrone users as well, at the same rate as in-town users. Since that's only one, basically it's not a month-to-month reading. It's only done, any changes that are done to the wastewater rate are done once a year under the winter quarterly change. We did not feel that we needed to increase the administration fee, but the wastewater rate would be handled in the exact same, under the exact same standards that we do our wastewater rates right now. And that would be, under our current system, is that the base rate applies to any debt attributed to the wastewater treatment plant. Then the variable rates per 1,000 gallons is based on the operating costs as well as capital investment costs, future capital investment costs that we might need at the wastewater treatment plant. So if you have any questions.
Is there anybody from Tyrone here?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to say anything?
That's your question.
All righty. Any comments or questions? Councilor Bedison.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question, Mr. Brown. It's on page 5 under wastewater service.
Okay.
Under the construction of new facilities, at the bottom, it talks about additional collection and conveyance lines. And so I was wondering, it never says how many additional collection and conveyance lines the TPOA will be actually constructing that would then connect into the wastewater line at the Grant County Detention Center?
Yes, the way that this contract was put into place is the water contract limits the total number of lots and conveyance lines to a certain amount. And this is tied directly to the water contract. So they could not add any more than what is tied to the water contract, which I believe is 270.
300 homes right now, and it's confined to the boundaries of the town site.
It's 321 homes.
And does that include those 10 additional sites that were mentioned in the...
No, those were sites that had to be negotiated for right-of-way for the transmission line.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And then anything above the 321 and the 10 have to be approved by the town of Silver City before they would be allowed to be put on the line.
Okay, I just wanted clarification because it never had an exact number there, and I just wanted to ensure that it was still tied to the water.
Yes, everything is tied to the water
Okay.
contract, so they are exactly the same. The boundaries of the town site,
Okay,
because in previous years, there was some worry that the town site might sell water to areas outside of the town site, and the current management and previous management were willing to put boundaries on the town site to where we would be selling, and those boundaries are clear and go both with the water contract as well as with the wastewater contract.
okay, so I have two additional questions. I think one is going to be easily answered, which is, so our wastewater line can easily handle the load that's coming in? That new
Yes.
wastewater line that's there?
Oh, yes. The line that we asked the county to build we asked them to build it oversized to handle the Tyrone waste. And the actual, what we can process, I believe we can process approximately 2 million gallons daily, average daily, 3 million peak for a short period. And I believe that we bring in around 1.3 to 1.4 average daily.
I'm not sure I needed all of that detail, but thank you. There was, my last question is it necessary, since I was uncertain about how many, collection and conveyance lines were going in, is it necessary to clarify that in this area or not?
I don't believe so, because it is clarified in the water contract.
Okay, so it's not necessary to do that in the wastewater, just to ensure that it's parallel throughout?
We have it in the water contract already, and we always refer back to the water contract for everything.
Okay, thank you very much.
This contract as well refers directly to that.
Yes, and I know it
That
does,
area.
yes.
Any other comments, questions, anything from the audience? Seeing none, comments, questions from the council, entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of water and wastewater service agreement between the town of Silver City and the Tyrone Property Owners Association.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve a water and wastewater service agreement between the town of Silver City and the Tyrone Property Owners Association, and no further discussion. Do we need a roll call? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of public celebration permit application and a waiver of NMSA 1978 Section 60-6B-10 for a Western New Mexico University alumni homecoming at 1000 West College Avenue, Silver City, New Mexico, on October 5th, 2012, from 4:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Sponsor is WNMU Alumni Affairs. Liquor license holder is the Buffalo Bar, liquor license number 0361 from 211 North Bullard, Silver City, New Mexico. Please.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors, manager, and other town employees. My name's Danielle Moffett. I'm the Director for Alumni Affairs, here requesting the special dispenser permit so that we can offer an evening of celebration for our alumni on October 5th. We plan this event in conjunction with our President's Office to celebrate the history that our alumni bring to the institution and give them an evening of celebration, dinner, dancing, recognitions in the same celebration, and all in the same location. So we're here requesting your consideration of our submission of the special dispenser permit, in addition to granting us a waiver pursuant to Section 60-6B-10 regarding service of alcohol in proximity to a school campus. Are there any questions about the event? You read a description.
Any comments, questions? Any comments, questions from the audience? Entertain a motion. I can't do it.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of a public celebration permit application and grant waiver of NMSA 1978 Section 60-6B-10 for a Western New Mexico University alumni homecoming at 1000 West College Avenue, Silver City, New Mexico, on October 5th, 2012, from 4:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Sponsor is WNMU Alumni Affairs. Liquor license holder is the Buffalo Bar, liquor license number 0361 of 211 North Bullard Street, Silver City, New Mexico.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second it. There's a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve a public celebration permit application and a waiver of NMSA 1978 Section 60-6B-10 for a Western New Mexico University alumni homecoming at 1000 West College Avenue, Silver City, New Mexico, on October 5th, 2012, from 4:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Sponsor is WNMU Alumni Affairs. Liquor license holder is the Buffalo Bar, liquor license number 0361 211 North Bullard, Silver City, New Mexico. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. There you go. Next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of authorization of the mayor to express to the New Mexico Department of Transportation the town's position regarding essential air service. And first of all, I need your permission to express our opinion to the Federal Department of Transportation, as they are the correct administrators of the Essential Air Service Program. And the reason that I didn't present you a letter at this point, very specific of what our request would be, is it's not ready. And I think it is very, very important that the town and the county prepare an identical letter on our appropriate letterheads so that we speak with a unanimous voice from the county and the town. We have had several phone calls with the two people or two companies that proposed, being Seaport and Great Lakes Airlines. They're extremely different proposals this year. The Seaport proposal would require several waivers be approved by the town, being non-pressurized is one, and being a 9-seat aircraft is another waiver. The Great Lakes proposal is utilizing the same aircraft and with flights to and from Phoenix. There is also a flight to and from Santa Fe that would be included in, and we're continuing to negotiate with them on schedules. It doesn't do us a lot of good to get to Phoenix after all the connection flights have already departed. So we're working with them to develop schedules, which gives you a hint of which way I'm leaning at this point, is to recommend Great Lakes. We're just not quite at the point where we can do that, and consistent with previous years, this is the way we've done it. And it allows us to be flexible in making some decisions. There was a survey done by the Gila EDA on what the community wants for air service, and having a Phoenix connector was far and above the best response off the survey. I've spoken to a lot of businesses that it's very important for them to have that connection to Phoenix. There's also some, and at least one really large business in town that wants to go to Albuquerque. So we're trying to balance how we do that. I've heard Albuquerque wants $400 and some per day for terminal and airport fee. Well, that drives the cost of providing service really, really high. So there's a whole lot of little technical issues that we're having to balance to come up with our recommendation. But at this point, it looks like our recommendation will be a version of service, round-trip service to Silver City and Phoenix and Santa Fe and Silver City. Councilor Bettison.
So, Mayor, do I understand from the Seaport one that we are still connected to whatever decision we would have to make on the Seaport, Clovis would have to make the same decision? Or did that get severed?
Seaport is an all or none.
So we would have to, both communities would have to make the same decision on
And
Seaport?
to make Seaport happy, yes.
Yeah.
We have had discussions with, was it DOT, Robert, that we talked about, that if they owned a Globe, they could tell that it makes absolutely no sense to tie Essential Air Service program with Silver City and Clovis. We're not really sure why that ever happened. There's probably some strange reason that happens in federal government. We are not bound to make an agreement with Clovis as we go forward, and DOT understands that it really doesn't make sense to tie us together. And their awards are different.
Yeah.
Their amounts that they're awarded are totally different from our awards. It's not a lump sum. Any other comments, questions?
Mr. Mayor, just a clarification. So when we're talking about the Department of Transportation, we're talking federal, not state.
We are talking federal. This is the Essential Air Service is a federal program that came about some years ago when they deregulated the airlines, and many small communities lost their connection to the world. And this program is designed to ensure that we can reach a hub for contact to the rest of the world. It's not really designed as a commuter airline subsidy, and it's an economic development issue of bringing people, goods, and services in and out.
I've just heard a couple concerns from some of the business owners who utilize the service. There's fears that Great Lakes will enter a contract and then quickly not make good on it. Does this contract seem a little easier for them to fulfill than the last?
That is a very good point. One is the notice of termination that Great Lakes filed some months ago is a procedural move to reopen the contract. Their CEO doesn't and never had intent of surrendering their service to Silver City to another airline. However, with the increase in operating costs that they're incurring, they felt that it was important to reopen the contract. The second aspect of that is, with connecting us to Phoenix, it also would allow them to have more airplanes available to service this contract. So right now, we've got one airplane. And if something happens to it, it's in for service, we get delayed, postponed. With the way they're setting up now for this coming contract, allows us to have several airplanes that are available. So and there's a potential that one airplane may be homed here at Silver City. If that doesn't work out, there will be several planes in Phoenix that if one has an issue, they get in a different one, and they're still able to make their schedule. I've had pretty extensive and blunt conversations with the CEO and his staff about our concerns on reliability. Businesses have gone to charter because Great Lakes has not been reliable, and a lot of it has been based on one pilot, one airplane, and a whole lot can go wrong with either. And they feel that this offering that they're coming forward will help resolve that. And they also, if they don't fly, they don't get paid. I mean, it is a reimbursement per flight. It's not a lump sum. Any other discussion? Any discussion from the audience? Sissy?
First of all, I think it's really great that the city and county are working together on this. I was actually involved back when the change took place between Mesa and Great Lakes. And back when that occurred, the county is the one that made the decision. The city got involved afterwards, and there actually was quite an outcry. Part of the concern was the fact that we felt we weren't comparing apples to apples. And I remember vividly at that meeting, we had a great thing going with Mesa. They had a coupon book, and we could buy a coupon book, and then we could share coupons with other people, and that worked out really great for our community, and it offered to where I think we were spending like $75 for a flight up to Albuquerque, which was just great. And Great Lakes, when they came in, I just love the fact that you mentioned we might have a plane here. I remember vividly at that meeting where they said, we'll have a plane sitting on the ground in Silver City with a mechanic. And so we'll always be able to fly out of Silver City. And from the moment they got the contract, that didn't happen. Most of the people I know do not fly Great Lakes out of Grant County Airport because it's not reliable. So if there's any way, if you know, we do decide to go with them, that we can tie them back into making sure they literally have planes flying, whatever it takes. Because I think the loyalty and the customer service isn't there. And I know several businesses here in town have hired private companies to make sure they can fly their folks back and forth. If we don't have that retail market, you know, we need to be sure that it's going to be cost effective for them as well. So I'm glad to see you're taking an active step, that it's going to be a unified front, but I think we really need to make sure that promises that are brought to the table are upheld, and that hopefully we will be able to find a way to make those flights affordable for the general public.
Thanks, Sissy. And I have shared those comments and concerns with Great Lakes. I'm not going to go into, I mean, we've been on the phone with them for hours, so I'm not going to go into a long, drawn-out deal about that. But there's a lot of issues with the program. Secondly, they can promise me the world. They can promise me my personal airplane to wherever I want to go, but the contract is not with the town or the county. The contract is with the federal government and Great Lakes, or whatever provider. And that puts us in an interesting predicament when it comes to accountability. All we can basically do is submit complaints and comments back to DOT. Even the recommendation that we sent, it's my understanding that it could be completely ignored, and DOT could they could get all the letters that are identical and they can go with something else. Because it is their contracts. We're submitting our preference. Anything else? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor.
I move to approve authorization of the mayor to express to the Federal Department of Transportation the town's position regarding essential air service.
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion as stated.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the council?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
There's a motion and a second to approve authorization of the mayor to express to the Federal Department of Transportation the town's position regarding essential air service. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval of bid 12-13-4 Silver City Waterworks Building Boiler and Pump Room Roof and Roof Structure Replacement.
Mayor and Council, the town received 4 bids for the above referenced project for the waterworks building, boiler and pump room roof and roof structure replacement. It's staff's recommendation to award it to the lowest bidder, CD General Contractors, Inc. for $44,000, even plus gross receipts tax for a total amount of $47,245. I also want to state that there was a private donation of $25,000 offered for the project. So on top of the $47,245, we will be paying an additional approximately $1,800 for construction oversight to Casperson Engineering. So it'll be somewhere in the range of $50,000, of which the town will be putting in $25,000 and using the remaining $25,000.
I think it's a really good idea that we have Casperson in on the project. Nancy took me over there. I saw the issues. I saw some of the past construction that's gone on and what it's caused, which leads us back to some of this work. And I hope we can do it with quality this time. Did you want to say anything, Nancy? You're here. I'm going to...
Mayor, councilors, I just wanted to say we've been working on this for a long time, and we were fortunate to be able to use some of the Preserve America grant that was left over from a 2006 project to pay for part of the design work, and the rest was paid for by the Freeport grant, which we also got. And so because we received federal funding for that design, it actually had to go through federal as well as state review. So it's been reviewed by the Historic Preservation Division and approved by them. And Susan Berry actually got involved to talk about what might have been there historically, and we came up with a corrugated tin roof, which will actually be less expensive maybe than a standing seam roof. So the bid actually came in less than the engineer's estimate, and the engineer met with the contractor to make sure that everyone understood what was required, because the building's in such bad shape and they're going to have to work in space over that 30-foot deep pit. And they were both comfortable with the job and with the bid. So I support the bid, also the low bid.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience want to comment? Seeing none, anything from the council? Councilor.
I'd just like to thank the anonymous donor. That's very generous of them.
I think that's speaking from the council, as well as, I know darn good and well Nancy's put in well over $25,000 worth of her time and energy on this project, and it's appreciated, Nancy. Any other discussion or Somebody want to make a motion?
Start and then...
This is in my district, and I get to do something I've never done.
Speak up.
So speak up, Mr. Gavin. It's top and bottom.
Mr. Mayor, excuse me if I make mistakes, but I would like to make a motion to approve the bid on the Silver City Waterworks building of bid number 12/13-4 for the Silver City Waterworks building boiler and pump room roof and roof structure replacement per staff recommendation. Two, of course, who got it? CD General Contractors, Incorporated, for a total, a base bid of $44,000. Gross receipts tax would be $3,245, for a total with gross receipts would be $47,245 to CD General Contractors, Las Cruces, New Mexico.
Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second the motion as stated.
There's a motion to approve bid, staff recommendation on bid 12-13-4. Is there any discussion? There's a motion and a second to approve staff recommendation on bid 12/13-4, Silver City Waterworks building boiler and pump room roof and roof structure replacement to CD General Contractors Incorporated for a total with CRT of $47,245. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Sure. I second the motion as stated.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.